right, Athlete Builder back at it. Jim and Lucas, we're running the show again, and today we have Jen Floyd. And as you can tell, in honor of Jen Floyd and Maddie Beebe and the ties there, I'm wearing my Alabama rowing swag. And it all ties in together. Jen, I met in 2012 at what was CrossFit Naptown, and probably still should be called that in my opinion. But shout out 𝗟𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗀 and Peter Brassoven at CrossFit Naptown getting me started in CrossFit. And one day there was a tutorial on rowing, and I showed up, and they got this lady here just killing it on the rower. And I'm like, well, it looks like she's pretty fluid. She knows what she's doing. I started hearing about her credentials, and then she teaches us how to row. And it turns out she's an Olympian from back in the day, back in Beijing, 2008. And so our paths kind of diverged about a year later. I went and opened 𝗦𝗏𝗶𝗹 Athletics, and Jen went off and did her thing. And now it's kind of come full circle where I'm in Plainfield still with my gym, but Jen has her own gym in Plainfield. It's a Fit Body Boot Camp. So our paths cross a little bit. They diverge a little bit, but they've come back. And most recently, my daughter at Alabama wanted to walk on to the rowing team. She was doing really well rowing in general on the erg at the gym. And I thought, you know what? I know somebody. And reached out to Jen, and she was so accommodating, so kind, so generous with her time and knowledge. She just came over and gave Maddie a leg up and said, "Hey, here's some things." And then she pointed her into this rowing club where it's actually on the water here in Indianapolis, which then gave Maddie plenty of more reps. And confidence comes from reps, like we always say. So then when Maddie went down to Alabama this fall, she tried out for 2 weeks, and lo and behold, she made it. So hence all the rowing swag. And I thought, well, shoot, she helped me out personally back in the day. She's a high elite level athlete, and she also helped my daughter. I'm like, what am I doing wasting my time not having her on the show? She's clearly a subject matter expert, and someone at that level, I thought, let's get her on. So made a phone call, and here we are. So Jen, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, should be a good time. I learned all sorts of new terminology from Maddie and this and that, but just your story alone is interesting. And I didn't get a hold of your parents or your two brothers, but God knows that would have been cool if I could have pulled them on. But West Leiden, New York, where's that exactly?
Yes. So pretty much central New York. New York is actually really big. When you hear New York, people think New York City. But if you just look at the map, we're right in the central. Like we're Syracuse, there's Rome. I'm closer to Canada than I am New York City.
And it's even the Adirondack High School. So you're in the woods, you're in the mountains, small school, right?
Yep. I had
And
graduated with like 110 people in my class.
okay, so small school boys and girls, 110. Three sport athlete. She started off her illustrious career in the on the bowling alley, but then made her way over to volleyball, swimming, track and field. Only wasn't really heavily recruited out of school, right? Went to a small college. Which one was that?
Mhm. 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃. So SUNY is the State University of New York, and they're all over New York. But I went to 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, which was about 45 minutes from Albany, the state capital. It was a small two-year two-year school. So I got my associates there, and then transferred.
I wrote down you were studying about animals, specifically alpacas. Is that right? Is that real? Is that
I,
really the
I
thing?
actually I really did. I did like alpacas, and I really wanted an alpaca farm. That was like one of my dreams is to have an alpaca farm. I even did a report on them and everything. They're just the cutest things. But no, I did my degree was animal science, and I wanted to work with the big animals. I mean, like livestock, cows, horses, zoo animals. I didn't want to do cats and dogs. I wanted to do the big animals.
So alpacas and all the sweaters that they can make, is that the deal?
Yeah. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to have
S
animals that you didn't have to kill them to, I wanted them, the alpacas, you could use their sweat, for their fur for sweaters and stuff. I just thought they were
Gotcha.
cute.
Then we thought, no more alpaca farm. I'm going to the Ivy Leagues instead. So then moved over to Cornell University, which is no joke, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh
why the
yeah, it was
switch?
going
Why
from
this?
like a
Why?
small. So 𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗀, they just had an associate's in animal science, and I wanted to stay in state. Cornell was the only in state that had a bachelor's in animal science. And Cornell had a really good transfer program with a couple of the SUNY schools, the small schools. So if you kept a 3.5 GPA or above, and then you could transfer in to Cornell and get your bachelor's in animal science at Cornell. So that's what I did.
All right. So second year, right before you took off, though, female athlete of the year, right?
But yes, yeah, at 𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗀, yes, yeah, because
So
I
that's pretty
did
good. All right.
volleyball. I was originally recruited for volleyball. I did that my freshman year, and then sophomore year I did volleyball, and a teammate of mine was recruited. She was a thrower, so she was actually recruited for track and field, but also did volleyball. And she was like, "Why don't you do track and field with me?" And I was like, "All right, sure, why not?" So I did track and field my sophomore year as well at 𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗀.
And then first year at Cornell, focusing on your grades, right?
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
no more athletics, essentially
Nope.
retires. And then your
Yep.
roommate gets you to come out of retirement to go to a call out for rowing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They
Yep.
call it they
So
call it crew they call it crew or rowing or what?
rowing. Yeah. I think it was just like a rowing call out meeting. Yeah.
And you thought, well, huh, maybe I could do this too.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I didn't do a sport my junior year when I transferred because it was like going, I mean, from a junior school to an Ivy League. I was so scared. I was nervous. I was like, I just want to focus on my studies. So that's what I did. And I was miserable. I was unhappy. I just wanted to be part of something, part of a group. What I was leaving looking at volleyball, but I knew I couldn't do Division 1 volleyball, so I was looking at if they had a club program or a rec program. But then I don't, yeah, my roommate was just like, "Hey, I saw this poster for rowing. You want to come check it out?" I was like, "Yeah, I like the water," and one of my aunts rowed, so I was like, "I'll go check it out." So I went with her, and I don't know, it really interested me, and I was like, "Why not? It could be an opportunity to be part of a group, part of a team." Um, I mean, I wasn't meeting anybody, I wasn't making friends. And for me, sports was a way to be part of something and meet people and make friends. So that's really kind of what I was looking for my senior year.
Same thing with Maddie. She was changing some friend groups, and she wanted a group that was doing a lot of healthy things.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
one of her friends, Emma, had told her about the club, and she goes, "Well, yeah, I want to meet some more folks," and so she's been training, and so similar, right? But
Hmm.
there's a
Yep.
competitive side and all, and there's a physicality to it, but there's a teammate component, and so you know when you're in the gym or you see someone who's athletic, they can jump a lot, they're fast, they have a big vertical, a lot of length, or they're really powerful and strong. You can see, hey, man, that person has talent, or they just handle the ball. They can this naturally handles the ball very well. They're good with dribbling and basketball. That person has talent. So there's some natural ability in a sport. And I'm reading the articles that they wrote about you at the local papers and at Cornell, and then the bios with the Olympic site and things like that. And they said that coaches, when they first saw you working, they said she has a lot of talent. So what does that look like in the rowing world? Does that mean you row fast? Does that mean you pick up the technique quickly? What does, raw talent, good raw talent look like? Or what does that mean in the rowing world?
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, rowing, if you're taller, you have a little bit more advantage because it's all about leverage. It's just arm length, leg length, like how long can you keep that blade in the water? Um, well, sometimes broad shoulders. Like they would find volleyball players, they would find swimmers, um, and then endurance, like having good endurance. So they would also they would go after swimmers as well because they have good endurance just from all that swimming. But I think also good body awareness, like just being aware of where your limbs are moving, how to move your body, how to move your limbs. I mean, that helps. That helps as well, and just having some sort of I don't know, like a sports background, like I was a multi-sport athlete, so I wasn't just focused on one sport, but I just think having that well-rounded, a little bit of strength, a little bit of endurance, um, helps as well.
Helps that you're 6 feet tall, like you said,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's a big one,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I don't know if
That
that's
helps.
really talent. That's just, God smiling down upon you. And I've been, if my boys listen to this episode, they know I've been harping on them to find someone to date that's super tall, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't teach that very well. Um,
Yep.
but you're right. Like I'm watching some people, or Maddie would tell me that there's some people on the erg that do very, very well, but it doesn't necessarily translate in the boat and the water because there's more of a technical component, a timing component, getting the blade correctly in the water when it's facing the right spot, but not too deep. That can't be too deep in
Hmm.
there, right? And the timing. So
Yep.
just because you have good power and endurance, there's still a technical side, and for some that's kind of hard to learn. So talk about what's that like learning that, and then I guess in the sculls, you have an oar in each hand. Otherwise, sometimes you just have one oar, right? So just talk
Yeah.
about what for those that are listening, the difference and the basics, how all that works.
Yeah. Yeah. So with rowing, I mean, I think there's it's just such an amazing like mixture of everything, of strength. I mean, you need power to get off the line, and you need power to make it through halfway through the race. You need some strength and power to make it through the end, but then you need that endurance. So you also need a really good mixture of endurance to just get you through the whole race as well. But then you also have a grace, like it's very graceful, and you have to feel there's so much um, requirement, like to feel what is going on in the boat, like to feel the blades going in, to feel them coming out, to feel the other people in the boat moving with you. Like if anybody is off by just a little bit, you can just feel it. Like if someone catches late, you can feel it and it just hurts your body. So it takes some time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of hours out in the boat just rowing, like to actually understand how it should feel. And I think um, rowing in a one person in a single. So a single is a sculling boat because you need two oars. You need two oars or you're going to flip the boat. So sculling is where each person has two oars and they are smaller oars, but your hands overlap and so you have the two oars. Sweeping is where each person in the boat has one big oar. So it's much bigger, it's much longer, but you only have one of them. Um, and so whether you're sweeping or you're sculling, you just have to get that feeling. And we trained so much in the single because if you mess up, it's you. You're the only one to blame because you're the only one in the boat. And you have to understand how the boat moves in a single, in a one person, because that's the only way to get better and get faster. Like, so we did so much training in the single and worked on just catch timing and finish timing. Um, you would legit just like try to listen to the water underneath the boat. I don't know, that's one thing I just loved about rowing because there was so much that went into it. It wasn't just sheer power. You can have sheer power on the on the rowing machine. But yeah, like Maddie says, that does not translate whatsoever to outside on the boat. And if you don't work well with others, if you're not a good teammate, if you can't communicate with the people in your boat, on what you're feeling or what you're doing, or if you start fighting or arguing, that slows the boat down. So then there's that whole teammate, aspect to it where you have to be able to work together as one. You legit have to be one person, even though there may be eight rowers in the boat, you have to move as one. Um, so sometimes the coaches will switch so many people around because they're looking for that perfect combination because um, you know, you just got to find what works. And you got to be able to trust the people in your boat as well. Trust that they're going to push all the way to the end.
That's got to be, you know, that's huge in every sport, right? You got to trust the guy's going to blocks because you're going to run
Hmm.
with the ball. You got to trust
Yep.
the guy's is going to throw that pass so you can hit that alley oop, right? You got to trust that everyone isn't going to be out getting boozed up during the week because they got a big game, over the weekend. So there's all of that, and you can take a bunch of terrible athletes, but they work well together and
Hmm.
beat a bunch of athletes that are much more capable and talented because they're just like you said in fighting And that, that component, that's one of the six that we talk about with Athlete Builder, that teammate component, how it can make or break everything. And then sometimes with the eights, they have a coxswain too. So you have to be able to trust that person who is watching, guiding, even steering sometimes, and and trust that they're going to be able to, lead you, and they're making the right call.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
you know, similar to football or rugby players, like you said, there's that power component, right? But those rugby and football players, they got to run the whole time too.
Hmm.
So there's that, like you said, there's that huge power. So you see these people, these huge backs, they could probably single arm and barbell row a ton and do a ton of pull-ups, but not just one or two. They could do big, big sets because everything's 2,000 meters. It's 6, 7 minutes of, in my opinion, suffering. So there is that component. Would you say that a team's willingness to suffer through physical pain has got to be one of the limiting factors or competitive advantages for teams?
Oh, definitely. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely with rowing. I mean, because there's,
Right.
I mean, right from the start, I feel like, you know, 250 meters in, your legs are screaming. And it's like, oh my gosh, I still got like 1750 to go. But you just got to like turn it off. You got to figure out how to turn it off and just settle in. And I mean, if you can find a group that is willing to do that and wants to do that all the way through, it's going to be amazing. But if you get one person that's like, nah, I'm tired, I'm done. I mean, and then that's it. You're done. The race is done. If you don't want to push through it.
So the practice, no one, I always get told by my athletes, on game day, I'll just turn it on. I'm a gamer. I can do that. I go, man, you're gonna play how you practice, and if you practice at a high level, you're gonna perform at a high level. And no one rises to the occasion. They default to their level of training. So that tells me that in your practice sessions, you have to push like that. So for you personally, like how do you build that ability? And you weren't rowing your best, on day one. And a year later, you were better, but not as good as you were 2 years later, right? So you're building your technique, you're building your strength, you're building your endurance, but you're also building your willingness and your nervous system to, be uncomfortable. So how did you do that, and what would you tell yourself going into these practices, during these practices, and then during the events, the competitions themselves? Mentally, the mindset. What was your process to get through that and to push?
I think, I mean, just taking it one practice at a time, like one stroke at a time, one practice at a time, one piece at a time, like race piece or practice piece. Because yeah, we were always being monitored. I mean, you couldn't have an off practice because if you did, the coach would remember that and then may not put you in another lineup. So you had to be on, but you also had to realize I'm at this level. I'm at the elite level. Like I can't I can't take some off strokes. I can't have an off practice because then that's it. I'm done. But I wouldn't try to overwhelm myself and be like, oh my God, and then I got this practice and this practice, I got to do this and that. It's just, okay, what are we doing today? What's the piece? Oh, we have a 10 minute. Okay, let me just focus on that. One stroke at a time. Okay, now we got to do another one. Okay, let's get through this other, this next one. So it was legit just one stroke at a time, one practice at a time. Um, but we were also like our training was very kind of dependent, was heart rate dependent. So like I knew what zone I had to be in. I mean, you didn't have to kill yourself every time, but we had zones that you had to be in. So we were constantly watching our heart rate monitors. So I knew, okay, am I going hard enough? No, I could go a little bit harder. My heart rate's not where it should be. So I would push myself a little bit harder. If I was going too hard, I'm like, oh no, I'm outside the zone. Like I gotta back off just a little bit, or it's gonna be detrimental to my training. Um, and I think I don't know, that was just really helpful to see like looking at that heart rate monitor where your heart rate was, where it should be, and knowing, okay, I'm in the zone, I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is going to help me, for the next practice or a month down the road, 2 months or a year down the road. Um, that was really helpful. And I kept I kept journals for every single practice. Like I wrote down every practice. I have journals and boxes still, but that was super helpful just keeping those journals so that if I did have a bad practice, I mean, you could go back and look and see, I did get better. I did get faster. My times were better. or I was working faster and my heart rate was lower because I would write down my heart rate in that journal as well. So I knew, oh, my body's actually getting more efficient and better at, even though I'm going faster, my body's not working as hard. So that, I don't know. I think all of that combined together helped me get through everything.
I love that part that you just said there about being in the moment. The elite level athletes, that they're in the moment, they don't get overwhelmed by something that's a year from now, 6 months from now, 6 weeks from now. I know when I was preparing for that SEAL swim, I would think about a year from now, and I would get overwhelmed. I'm like, can't do that. So I would get myself to refocus. And one of the things, you hear from all the time that, hey, there is no motivation. There's just discipline. Keep going. Your discipline is what's going to carry you. And, that's true. But I also follow that up with, you can fabricate and create your own motivation. And I find, that's why we have that journal that we use and with our athletes. It's their planner for 3 months. But similar to that, I had my own, and I would track everything, like you said. This is how many meters I swam, or this is how much I lifted that week. This is how much time it took, how my breathing was. So now, even this past couple weeks, I changed something up with the kicking so that I would go faster, which means there's a quicker turnover rate, which means you have to breathe sooner. But I noted that down, like, hey man, I could do 2 laps like that at that higher speed with a faster kick, and then 2 weeks later it improved. The point is this: if you keep enough notes, if you're a big enough dork like I am, or sounds like you were, which is awesome, then you see the progress and you see these little wins. So then you're motivated to go back and train again. Because man, you have another win. Like every time I go in and train, I get a little win. There's your little incremental motivation that's temporary, but you get these little bursts of motivation 20 times a month on top of your discipline. Well, then you're like, you know what? This is not so bad. My discipline's kicking in, but I'm having these little wins, and that's what makes it enjoyable. People keep going. If it's always just suffering and you get no cool feedback, like with the small little victories, then it's like, well, shit, man, why am I doing this? Am I getting better? I don't really know. And most people, they really just care about progress. And if you make some progress consistently, then they're a lot happier. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. I'm going to make Maddie for sure listen to that piece. So, it's also unusual. Like you only rode for a year at Cornell. You graduate. I don't see any alpaca farm, but now you're with Team USA, training for Worlds, and by 2008 you're in Beijing on the Olympic team, right? You're not for nothing. That's kind of bullshit, man. In 1 year, she's already in the Olympics, man. What an asshole! Like
That's
some people have been killing themselves, just to go to the Ivy Leagues to row, and whoever it is, you win that thing is a big enough deal. Well, this girl, she showed up and just won the whole thing, and now she's on the Olympics.
There
I
was
bet
some
some people
time. There was some time in between there. Lots
a
of
little
training.
bit, okay,
Lots of training. Yeah.
sure, but
Yeah.
not a decade of
Yeah.
training. Like you saw how
No.
hard you worked to play college volleyball at a junior
Yeah.
college, right?
Yeah.
So, how'd you go from senior year to World Championships and then the Olympic team? How did you get from A to B?
So I think I know because I tell that to people and they're like, "Oh, you just made it within a couple of years." I'm like, "Well, there's a lot that went into that, but I think just because I was older, the senior in college, I was a well-rounded athlete. Um, I didn't have a job lined up after I graduated. So the plan, what I thought I wanted to do was go to vet school. I realized how hard it was going to be to get into vet school, and I didn't have the grades, and I was like, I am done with school. Like I really think I just went to college to play sports because I ended up doing 3 sports and got a, got a degree along the way. But yeah, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I have a degree in animal science. So I was applying at zoos, nothing was happening. So I had nothing. When I graduated, a teammate of mine, actually two of them, were going out to Connecticut to row at a club, and their goal was to make the US team. Like they wanted to train full time. And and I was actually really, really upset when I graduated because I thought I didn't I was so naive. I didn't realize there's rowing clubs. I didn't think you could row after college. I thought that was it. Like there was nothing. And I was like crying. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like I really want to row, but I didn't think there was anything for me. But she ended up telling me, hey, I'm gonna go out to this club in Connecticut. I think you should really come and row with us and train. And I thought about it and I was like, I don't have a job. I have nothing going on. And I really, really want to continue rowing and see how far I can take this. So I was like, yeah, why not? So I moved out to Connecticut after I graduated. I got out there like September of August or September of 2003. And then just started training like 3 times a day, learning how to row the single, working on endurance, training with a coach. So it was like going from nothing to, okay, you're going to train all the time. Uh, and just spent that year, so 2003 to 2004, working my butt off, learning how to row the single, race the single. I was fortunate enough to be part of a group in the spring of 2004 because I was working with this coach at the club, at the rowing, this rowing club. He put together a group of us. There was like 4 of us. We went and raced at some national team events. Um, did decent enough to then be part of a group that was trained and went to Canadian Henley, which is another big rowing event. So we went and did that in 2004, and it was kind of good timing because 2004 was the Athens Olympics. So you had all those girls from that Olympic team was taking time off, and we happened to be training in Princeton, which is where the U.S. men's and women's team at the time was training, rowing team. So you had all these women taking time off after the Athens Olympics, and the U.S. coach was like, "Well, I need a new group to come here and train." And when the U.S. coach asks you to come and train in Princeton, you don't turn that down. It's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll go. So I was like, yeah. So myself and a few other girls just moved to Princeton and just started training again full time. It was like 2, 3 workouts a day, learning how to row small boats um, with the U.S. coach, and then let's see, went to trials in 2005, like national team trials. I did okay. I ended up being a spare or an alternate for the 2005 World Championship team. So I still went, but basically like, oh, if anybody got injured or sick, I could fill in. But luckily that didn't happen. And then after the World Championships in 2005, back to Princeton, more training full time. Did a little bit better, actually made the team in 2006. More training, made the team again in 2007. More training, and then you had 2008, which was the Olympic year. So it was like, yeah, I learned how to row my senior year, but after that, it was like full force, nonstop training. And honestly, I didn't really begin to feel confident, like really confident and comfortable in the single until like 2007. Up until then, it was still like, oh, how's it gonna go? How am I gonna do? Like, I still wasn't that confident. It took a while to build that confidence and just know that I was fit enough, I was fast enough, I was strong enough. And luckily that came in 2007, which I think really, really helped for 2008.
Yeah, train 3 times a day. That's like Lucas level, you know? And um, is it always on the erg or on the boat? Do you ever just lift, or is it
Yeah,
always
so
just
usually like two of the workouts. So it was always the morning workout was a row on the water. And then we had an AM2, so you would rest for like an hour or so. AM2 would either be lifting, so we would lift like 2, 3 days a week, or it would be a run outside to work on your endurance, or it would be an erg, or it could be a second row. It just depended on the time of year. And then the afternoon practice was usually always a row. So there was always like 2 times on the water, and that third one could be either some sort of endurance or weights. Um, yeah.
gotcha? You know, there's still that school pride, and rowing on the West Coast is a big deal, and rowing on the East Coast also a big deal. If you watch that movie Miracle, When you talk
Hmm.
about the U.S. hockey team, and they brought all those college kids together, but they're all from different schools and they were fighting and stuff. I'm sure that everybody just meshed really, really easily on the girls' team and the guys' team that are from different schools. Now that you're on the USA team, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even like, yeah, I really had no idea what was going on because it's like I had just started, but I know a lot of the girls had known each other just from either competing against one another or had heard about one another. Because there's also like the junior US team. There was a U19 or under 19 team. Um, oh, an under 23 team. So some of them had been on those other teams. So I mean, they knew of each other, heard about each other. But then, I mean, yeah, once you all come together with the US, and you know, it's
They all
all
got along pretty
friends.
well.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Uh, that's a
Yeah, I
lame
mean, there's
story. I was
obviously,
something from.
well, I mean, there's some that I wouldn't want to hang out with outside of the boat. I'd be like, but once
Gotcha.
you get in the boat, you respect one another. But there was really just a few people that I really enjoyed hanging out with outside of practice. The rest, I respected them as teammates.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
When I was at the bank at JP Morgan, we would give away books as gifts because it's a very regulated industry, so you can't give away much. And one of the books one year was called The Last Amateurs, and it follows Cambridge versus Oxford, which is globally a big deal in the rowing world. And what they even said in the book was, okay, I bought it and I read it and I enjoyed it. My wife thought it was boring, but I thought it was cool. It was like Hard Knocks, but for rowing, right? Well, they said that some of the folks that went there, like they would come from Stanford or Harvard or wherever, and they go to Cambridge or Oxford to row. And if they missed the Olympics, they didn't care. They would say that winning that boat race, and that's simply called the boat race, was as prestigious as the Olympics. What's your take on that? Is that accurate? Is that true? Kind of a big deal over there,
I mean, personally, I would rather go to the Olympics than the boat race, but I know it is a really prestige race. Like there were definitely
right?
people on the team who rowed at Oxford or Cambridge, and they went there specifically to row and compete in the boat race. But I don't know, I feel like nothing really beats the Olympics.
Right? Don't you think? All
Yeah,
the countries are involved. It happens
yeah,
every 4 years.
yeah, yeah.
They would talk about early mornings being on the water and it's cold and it's too fucking bad. You're going. You'll warm
Hmm.
up once you're rowing, right? But sometimes
Yep. Oh yeah.
there's and mist coming off and it's pretty cold or some. I don't know if they rode in the rain or not, but the positioning and they all rode the eights. Some I saw you rode some fours. I think they call them quads, I guess. But the eights obviously have more people, and so they have different kind of athlete in a different position in the boat. Those up front and those in back are different than those in the middle. And my understanding is the middle is more of the engine, and the front and the back kind of set the pace, set the stroke rate, or kind of steer a little bit. But the people in the middle are the engine. So my question is, what was your role overall typically when you're rowing?
I think I was usually in the middle if I was in the eight. Again, I didn't row the eight very often just because I only did it in college, and then after that we were in the single. But a few times in the quad, which was it's a four-person sculling. Um, I would be in stroke seat. Actually, I think I'm trying to think of it. I think one year I was in stroke seat. For the Olympics, I was in the middle, like in seats two or three. In a double, sometimes I would be in bow. So I don't know, kind of all over. But in an eight, the bow, so the very back of the boat, the first across the finish line, that's like the skinniest part of the boat. And there's no way my hips were going to be fitting back there. So like usually you have a smaller person back there because also it sits up higher, so you don't want somebody like weighing the back the boat bow of the boat down. So that's more drag. So it's usually a smaller person in bow
Gotcha.
pair. Yeah,
Makes sense. So gotta have the right body
yep,
type for the position.
yeah, yep.
What do you miss about it?
I think just like the teamwork. I mean, just being part of a team, working with a team. Like I really enjoyed just kind of I don't know, having those friends and looking forward to going to practice and seeing them, and I guess kind of being forced into those situations because I don't really like small talk. I'm not like, I'll just go and do my own thing, you know. But when I was on a team or part of a team, you know, it's like you're kind of forced into those situations, or you had something, you know, similar that you could talk to people about. You know, we're in, you know, nowadays it's, you know, do a lot, not a lot of people probably want to talk about fitness with me, or, um, you know, or you get to talk about your kids' sports, and that's it. So I don't know. I just miss being with my teammates.
Not any of the events. Top one, two, three things in Beijing at the Beijing Olympics. Not one of
When,
the events. We'll ask that next. What your favorite events to watch were, but just
yeah,
people you met or things that happened or seeing 60 billion people all in one stadium. You know, that was the
yeah.
bird nest year, I think, right? So just what are some of the top moments for you at in the Olympics?
Oh, we went to the Great Wall. That was really cool to go to the Great Wall and just like see that. That was really cool. Having my family there. I had nine. There were nine of them that came, and they had like less, a little over a month to buy tickets, find a place to stay, and nine of them ended up coming. So my parents, my brothers, I had a cousin, and then the rest were aunts. So that was just awesome to like see them. I was only able to see them before racing. They could come to the hotel, and I saw them like once or twice. I couldn't see them after racing or like when I was actually at the venue. They would be in the grandstand, and then we went right back to the hotel. And then, so when I was finally able to see them was after like the final race. There was a family area. It was actually called the kiss and cry area. Just like the translation between Mandarin and English, like some of it was pretty funny, but it was the kiss and cry area, it was the family area. So that was, I mean, that was very emotional to see them after that last race. And it just meant the world to me to like to see them there. Yeah, and then I think also just being in the athlete village in that last week and seeing all the other athletes, you know, and just realizing when you see some of them, they're, especially some of the more famous ones, I think there's just this, um, how they're portrayed in the media or how you see them on TV. It's like this super celebrity. And then you actually see them and you're like, I, I made it here. You made it here to the Olympics. Like, I kind of feel like we're the same. You know, I'm like, you're just another human being that was training, you know, just like I was training and put in the work. So it was just kind of nice to see, I don't know, some other athletes, and, you know, we were in the same area, or, you know, there for the same reasons. So that was really cool to see that.
Opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies. Did you go to both of those?
We didn't do the opening because the opening was like right the day before we raced. And what I didn't realize is that you are there like all day. So the athletes that did go, they bust them in, and they essentially waited underneath, I think it was the bird's nest, for like hours, just standing there. And it was hot, humid. And then finally, you know, during the ceremonies, they come out and walk. But it's just a full day event of standing. And our coach was like, "No, you're not going because you're racing tomorrow. You got to save your legs." But my coach, my each boat has their own coach. So my coach ended up going. He really wanted to go and experience it. He came back blisters all over his feet. I mean, they were tore up just from standing there in the heat and humidity. So we did not do the opening, but we did the closing. And the closing, it was more casual. It wasn't as strict. Like, we just went and walked in when they called us, and that was really cool to be part of that because then you can mingle, walk around, talk to other people. So that was cool.
The what about the events that you actually got to watch? You know, I think Usain Bolt was running. You know, women's gymnastics is always awesome. Track and
Hmm.
field house is fun to watch. The swimming, I don't know if Michael Phelps is still just racking up
Hmm.
victory after victory.
Yeah,
But
he was there.
what's
Yep.
what what's some of the cool events you got to see or cool moments there?
So because rowing was the first week of the Olympics. And during that first week, I think was also some of the gymnastics and the swimming. So I didn't get to see any of that because they were competing when we were competing. But I saw a lot of track and field. I feel like pretty much every night I went to track and field and watched stuff. During the day, we went and saw some women's volleyball. Men's basketball was there. I think some synchronized diving. And then other days, if we didn't want to go see an event, we would just go out and sightsee, like to Tiananmen Square. There was this like silk market you could go to and try to negotiate prices. We just kind of went and I don't know, being tourists.
Once you're done competing though, isn't there like don't you guys have like one party? Like not like go out and tear it up one night at all, just go out and have a beer
Every night there's
every night.
parties. Every night.
God, I'd hope
Yes.
so.
Yeah. So there's like all the big sponsors, if you think of like Nike, Budweiser, there's some certain sponsors that have, like the Budweiser house. So yeah, every night they had a big party at the Budweiser house. But you could kind of walk around and, you know, a lot of the sponsors' houses, and it was just an area they had set up, and usually they had something going on. So I think the first, like, I'm not a huge partier, so the first night I was out late. But then after that, I was like, man, I'm tired. Like you're gone all day going to see events or sightseeing, and then I was like, I can't. I just couldn't stay up that late because then I wanted to get up and go do stuff, the next day. But yeah, there was always stuff
You're like
going
me and
on.
my wife, but we're in our 50s, and why can't we just do some day drinking and get it over with and just hang out and be in bed
Yeah,
early because next morning we're going hiking. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
goodness.
So,
All right, so you get to have all the fun, training as an athlete. Fast
mhm.
forward, um, got to earn a living, right?
Yep,
And
yep,
so do a number of things, but most recently you're running a boot camp, right? You train
yep,
CrossFit.
yep.
Your team went to regionals back when they had regionals and just missed the games. Um, but now you run a boot camp.
hmm Yep.
So just open-ended question: Why? Why are you running a boot camp? Like, what's the calling there for you?
Well, when I finished training, like rowing and training and all that stuff at the elite level, I was still in Princeton, New Jersey. A lot of there were some teammates that were working at Lululemon. There was one, in Princeton. So I was like, well, I got to work somewhere. I need a job. So I started working at Lululemon. And they're really big on like self-development and just, you know, so there would be these books we would read and tests we would take. And one of them, it just answered all these questions about, okay, what would be a job that you could have that you would really enjoy, you could make money at, you'd be good at. So I answered all these questions, and the answer it came out to be a gym owner. And I was like, what in the world? I was like, I never even considered that at all. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's kind of cool. And I just put it in the back of my head. But then I ended up getting the job as executive director of Indianapolis Rowing Center. And that's what brought me from Princeton, New Jersey, out to Indianapolis, out to Indiana. And I was like, well, that's kind of along the same path. Like I'm the director of the rowing center. I don't own it, but I'm overseeing the classes, the programs, and all that good stuff. So I did that for 5 years, and then tried corporate America for a little bit. Quickly realized that was not for me. Um, did some warehouse stuff, and then it just got to a point where like I had lost my job, and I was like, I I need to figure out what I want to do. Like, what do I really enjoy? What do I want to do? And I've always just kept thinking, man, I love fitness. I love working out. I want to inspire other people to do the same thing. And my brother and his wife had told me about Fit Body Boot Camp. I had never heard of them before, had never gone to a class or anything. So I looked into it, talked to a couple owners, and just took the chance and leap of faith that I could do it and looked into it and ended up getting approved for it and was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. I'm going all in. I'm gonna open up a gym um and I like the boot camp type. I like that it's only 30 minutes. Like I really did enjoy CrossFit, but it just got to that point where it's just too much. I just wanted something scaled down kind of. Uh, and I like the mixture of the strength and the interval training. there's a little bit of that cardio mixed into the strength. So I like that. Yeah, I just moved forward with it and opened December of 2023 is when I officially opened the doors.
You're coming up on 2 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of cardio, a little, it's a body weight, and then the weights aren't overly heavy, right? It's just dumbbells or,
Yeah, we got dumbbells, kettlebells, slam balls, so like no barbells, but I've been needing to get heavier dumbbells and kettlebells because they're getting stronger and I got some guys in there too. So I'm like, I got to get some heavier stuff.
gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha. Well, good for you. I'm glad you're, living out your why, living out your passion. You got it to be a little uncomfortable too, for someone you said is, you don't like the small talk, you're kind of introverted, you'd rather just get to it. But then when you're the face of a business,
I know. Yep.
you gotta be chipper and
Hmm.
engaging and approachable. And I think I saw some reels that you made even, right? So now we're doing social media, all the
All the
things,
stuff.
all the stuff,
Yeah, you got to know when to turn it on. Turn it on.
right?
Yeah.
But again, at the end of the day, it's impact. It sounds like a lot of people, family and coaches invested in you, and you took that and ran with it, and you're doing the same thing. You'll come across someone along the way where you're gonna make a difference, whether it's lowering their A1C number, lowering their body fat, improving their overall happiness, their mobility. It's some of the great things that we do, coaching people,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
you're younger than I. You're younger than I am, so you got plenty more years to
Yep.
keep after it.
Keep going.
I wrote down here because in this little homework I had you put out for mindset, one of the things that helped you out was knowing you're not alone. I'm not the only one feeling this way or going through something hard. Knowing I'm not alone was helpful to get you through some tough times. So talk about that and why that's important, especially in a team sport, because people put on a face all the time, and they could be
Hmm.
really happy on the inside or really despondent. And talk about how, being a teammate is vulnerable but approachable and how that helps people, get through the hard things and then enjoy the wins when those occur too.
Yeah. So I think also part of like the mindset when I read that, because I've been going through that a lot lately, just I'm in my second year of business and it's like it's just been a lot. And I have to remind myself, well now, but also I'm sure I did it back then. Because at the time you just think you're so alone. You're like, I'm the only one feeling this way. I'm the only one going through this, and in the end, like you're not the only one. You're not alone. There's other people who feel the same way. They're going through the same stuff, or maybe in the same situation. So I think just constantly reminding myself about that um, really helps. Even, I mean, during training and even now as a business owner. Um, but definitely, I think also when I was training, that mindset, like trusting my coach and trusting the process um, helped as well. I think if I had a coach where I was like, what in the world is he talking about? What is he doing? Why are we doing this training program? Um, I think I would have been questioning myself a lot or questioning why we're doing things. But I really trusted his training program, the process, having the patience also, just having the patience to trust everything. Um, I think helped as well. I know we're in this like instant gratification and you want those results right now, but patience and giving yourself grace, that that helps a lot. I think with that mindset and whatever you're going through.
Lucas and I will have discussions all the time about training kids or dealing with outside, forces. Then it is helpful knowing that there's other people in that situation, or I can call Jared over at Naptown, or it's Myriad Fitness now, and talk about that. Or Lucas can call me and say, "Man, I got these. You will not believe what happened today," and I'll say, "Yeah, well, I'll tell you what happened today too," like, and there's craziness, and when and you come across so many people, and there's awesome things that happen too, but people don't. it's comforting to know that someone else is in the same situation, and then you can also work through some things. So, which really tells me I don't understand why you and I haven't had coffee more often than maybe one time in 2 years. That's pretty silly.
I, I
We
know.
really need to do that. But that trust is huge. What Lucas and I were just talking about how some kids or athletes they don't trust you, and they think this or they and you think that, and when there's a disconnect, that's not necessarily hey I'm right you're wrong or you're right and I'm wrong, but either way, the result will not be optimized. The result that the athlete's looking for, the team's looking for, will not be optimized if you guys are not trusting each other. Like when you have this coxswain that's telling you to change your stroke rate to win this race, like he's taking in all these factors of trying to win, who's in what position, but then they're going to ask of you, and you're already in pain. You're 1,200 meters in a 2,000 meter race. You're already in pain, and he's going to ask a little bit more. Or I'm going to ask of this kid. I get this all the time when they're back squatting if they're maxing out. Man, are you trying to kill me? Why would you tell me to put on another 25 pounds? I said, if I told you to put on 25, it's probably because there's 45 in you. I'm not going to set you up for this failure. So you have to build that. And when they do that first little leap of faith and it works out, well, there's a rep. So that now they have some more confidence. They have some more confidence in you. But until then, you got to sell them on it. You got to teach them on it. You got to educate them on why we're doing these things until you get a little bit of buy-in. And then you got to be right. If I tell them to put on 25 pounds, they better not miss the lift. Or if they told you to push a little harder, you better not fail. So you got to be right as the coach, but you got to build that trust. And if not, you just can't really maximize what we're trying to do. How do you handle that when you come across the folks and are like, Jen, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And they might not say it like that, but you can tell the body language. You can tell when
Mm-hmm.
someone says,
Yep.
no, 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 what, no, right?
Yep.
And it
Yep.
happens. It even hurts when like you have your own son. I got to tell you, we have 6 kids here. Our own kids will say, "Nah, Dad, you're too old. You don't know what you're saying, right?" So you can get told no. So how do you handle that? What do? You just get out one of those big oars and crack them across the head, or what happens there?
Now it's funny you mention that because there's definitely members at the gym. I mean, the average age is 47 years old, like female women is the average age at the gym, and a lot of them haven't really been pushed, and they don't realize how strong they are. So there's been quite a few. I'm watching them. Their form's good. Their technique's good. I'm like, I know you can lift heavier. They're like, no, no, I can't. No, I can't. And they keep pushing back, and I'm like, no, you can't. And we just hand them a weight. We hand them a heavier weight. I mean, unless they look like they're really pissed at me, then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna let you chill. Most of them are like, okay, fine. And it's like you really just have to force it on them. You have to give it to them because they're not going to go grab it themselves. So you give them the heavier weight, and then they do it, and they're like, I did it. Like, yeah, like I told you you could do it. Like your form's good, your technique is good. You've been getting stronger. Like, believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I mean, yeah, you can tell them that, but I think sometimes you just gotta give them the heavier weight and be like, lift this up. Or you can relate it. Some of them have grandkids. They have kids, and they're like, you pick up your kids, you pick up your dog, you pick up a bag of groceries. That weighs more than this. You can pick this up. Sometimes I don't think they realize that they pick up things that are heavier than what they're doing in the gym. Or you got to bring in that whole emotional, especially with the grandkids. Like, oh, you're going to be picking up your grandkids soon. They weigh more than that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I better. Yeah, I can do it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
You know, I think there's a number of things that separate coaches, and one of the easy ones I could point out is an instructor will give you the information. They'll tell you what to do. Here's what you do. Here's how you do the lift. Here's the numbers. But the coach makes it happen. Like the coach brings it along, encourages, empathizes, sympathizes, whatever ISes, right? But sometimes just like you said, I'm like, hey, we're putting this weight on here. I'll ask, hey, are you hurt? Is your knee giving any problems? We're good to go. Yeah, you're good to go. All right, then we cool with what we're doing here because this is the number. And they'll be like, what? I'm saying I will bet my house, my entire mortgage that you had this in you because I have to build this trust. And if I take this loss, then I take a loss today. I can't have that. sometimes you have to go there and say, like you said, I'll just bring the kettlebell over, sandbag over, and say, hey, this is it. And they're like, what? I go, shut up, come on. What are you paying me for? You're paying me, right? You want to get better? Let's go. Come on, one time. But once you get that trust, man, it's off and running. It's off and running. But once you lose it, you're sinking to the bottom. So you had a number of different paths, a number of different careers. And this is where we're at. You seem pretty happy. You seem like things are going pretty good. You know, there's ups and downs like always. But it seems like this is like what I read was I think I found my sport when you started rowing
Hmm.
because you had played all these other sports. But you're like, hey, I think I found it. You know, at 22 years old. You think you found what you're looking to do, and this is your calling. You're good to go.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean, I
good
really
for.
enjoy like, going to the gym. I mean, no, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's definitely been days where I'm like, did I make the right decision? But in the end, like I'm like, man, I own my own gym. Like I can go to the gym and work out. Like I love the members. I love seeing the members. I love seeing their progress and any kind of wins that they might have. And it's not even just, on the scale, it's any sort of win, like some of them, they're just working on their balance and they're like, oh my gosh, I was able to balance the other day. Or they were swimming and they were like, I was able to pull myself up, out of the boat. It's just like everyday stuff like that I'm like, okay, this is really cool. And sometimes when I need it the most, like I got a message from a son of one of our members, and he's like, "You're making such a difference in my dad's life. He's going to be here longer for his grandkids." And I was like, okay. I was like, that's what I needed to hear. It's like I definitely needed to hear that, knowing that, we're making a difference. And um, I just think movement is it's so necessary, and it's neat, any kind of movement. I don't care if it's boot camp or CrossFit or walking, like what find whatever works for you and whatever you enjoy. You got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to do it. But
Sure,
it's so crucial and necessary for our longevity, for how we treat other people. Like if we're not feeling good on the inside, if we don't feel good about ourselves, we're not going to treat other people well. And you want to be a good person for your family, for your coworkers, for a stranger outside. You want to be a good person. So I think honestly, I think just moving, any type of moving, I really think helps with so many different things. So many
sure.
different things. Yeah. Like one of our members, her son is on the autistic side. And I didn't know that at the beginning, but she has told me like he loves coming, like he loves coming to the workouts, and he's so fun like to have in session. He just keeps to himself. He doesn't say a whole lot, but it's been really nice working with him and like see him slowly progress. And I know it's helping him. And I know he enjoys it. So that, I mean, I just think it's so beneficial to anyone.
Sure. You know, you're right. The intangibles, the thank yous, and you know the differences in people's lives, or the changes in their biometrics, et cetera, or their PRs and stuff. So, um, Maddie has these practices that they have to go to. You know, they're at the boathouse, or they're on the water, or they run the stadium. And man, now that she's actually an athlete for Alabama, the level of treatment and service is so nice, right? But outside of their training, they have to hit like, I don't know, 15 or 20 steady states a week. And so a steady state is 20 minutes of something. And they have a number of different things they can do, like get on an erg or bike or some swing machine or whatever it's called. But whatever, they have to do they have to hit these blocks in addition to all their normal training. And so she left a voicemail for her coach on Sunday saying, "Hey, I've been doing these blocks and it's getting a lot easier. I really thought it would be. I was kind of dreading it today, but even though I didn't have as high of energy level, it was a lot easier. So I just wanted to say thanks for that, right?" And he texted her back like, "This is something I'm gonna treasure," or something along those lines. Like I treasure this. And Matt's
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. So she shows up to practice today, and practice is early. It's always at 6. And he goes, "Hey, you cool if I play this for everybody?" And she's like, I did a voicemail because I was too lazy to type it all out in a text. Like, what? And she goes, well, this meant a lot, I just want everyone to know. And so she was like, all right, fine, whatever. So he puts up to a microphone and then, or, he played the voicemail for everybody. And Maddie's like, oh man, because people are looking at her like, hey, you kiss ass, she was like, I was just, happy I wasn't feeling like I was ready to throw up. So I was just thankful. And that's all I was saying. But you're right, to your point, that when you thank your coach, and Lucas will tell you when people come up and thank him, like, it means a lot. So um, I get it. I get it. So when you're rowing, you usually ask about training, but when you're rowing on the erg, like at my gym that one day,
Mhm.
what do you listen to?
Really anything with a good beat. You like it always, I don't know. Let's see. When I'm erging, I don't know. It's just like a bunch of random stuff. I had like what was it like Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Missy Elliott, what else? That type of stuff. Like it's not
Gotcha.
hardcore rock. Yeah. Sometimes if there are some rock songs or like I love 90s alternative, but that would probably be more like if I was lifting or something. But yeah.
What's a bucket list adventure for you and your husband to do that you haven't done yet?
Oh, me and him. Shoot, I know what I
Sorry,
would want to do.
sorry,
So
sorry, you gotta take them.
I know.
Oh no,
Well, I was
what?
thinking, oh, I
That
gotta take him.
sucks.
Well, I see. I would really love to go to like a bunch of the national parks and go hiking. That's not really his thing, though. That's what I would like to do. And I've never been on a cruise, but this is really weird because I rode on the water. He's not a huge fan of like boats in the water. So I know, like, I mean, he'll go out on a pontoon, maybe a really big boat, maybe a cruise boat, but or a cruise ship. But he doesn't really want to go on a cruise. But that's something I would like to do. But probably for both of us, we love concerts. So I'm sure like Red Rocks in Colorado, like that would be an awesome place to see a concert. That'd be really cool.
I saw Joe
Yeah.
Bonamassa there with my wife. It was awesome. And we do like
Yeah.
national park hikes, so we're total dorks. What's a favorite
Yeah.
sports movie?
Oh, you mentioned it earlier, Miracle. I love Miracle and I I love Mighty Ducks.
No.
So I don't know what the hockey thing is all about.
Quack, quack, quack. Come on.
I remember watching that movie all the time. Oh my gosh. Oh, and Karate Kid. I don't know if that's considered a sports movie, but
Oh yeah,
I
man.
loved that. Yeah, I
That was
loved
my
that one
first
too.
all time. Allie was my first all time crush. Elizabeth Shue. I was like
Oh,
seventh
yep.
grade. Oh
See,
my
I loved
goodness.
Ralph Macchio. I was in love
No,
with Ralph Macchio.
he's a doofus. What's your favorite sport to watch?
I'm not a huge sports fan, but I do like to watch baseball. I think because I understand it and I can follow it. Like football, basketball, sometimes they're too much. It's too much going on, too chaotic. It's too fast. I can't see the ball. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But baseball, I actually understand, and the guys always look good in their uniforms too. So I can
There
watch
you
that.
go. Favorite athlete, either current or retired or dead or alive. Favorite athlete to watch.
Oh, again, I never really like, I don't know. I never really followed. Well, when I was in high school, I loved Derek Jeter. Again, he was just a cutie. So that was probably the only one I would actually follow. I think I got a jersey of his or a t-shirt of his. Other than that, I don't really follow
You got a favorite
anybody.
book?
I really do enjoy Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then also, I feel like I could read that one over and over. But also Boys in the Boat. I know it's cliche because it's rowing, but it actually really is a good book.
Okay.
And any Harry Potter, all those um what is it, the vampire books too. I feel like I could read those too over and over. Twilight. That's what it is, Twilight.
That's yeah. No, you're doing fine. And I like Harry Potter, but Team Jacob or Team Edward, like, no, no, no. And it all sounds like J.K. Rowling and Emma Watson aren't getting along either right now. But there's all that drama on the outside. But yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
dork too. I read both those series. Nothing to be
Hmm.
proud of, I guess. But yeah. How about like you have a hero, and they could be fictional. Or it could be a real life person
Oh,
or favorite superhero.
um, well, I, I watched Superman, like the one with Christopher Reeves, all the
Oh yeah,
time, all the time when I was younger. So I guess he'd be my favorite uh superhero.
that opening song. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun.
yeah,
Oh man, gets you all excited. How about villain? Do you have a
yeah.
favorite villain? Favorite bad guy?
Um, Shoot, I was thinking about this. No, not really. I really can't think it because I didn't watch a lot of the like superhero movies. I don't know. I watched
That's all
like the
right.
stupid I watched the rom-com, all those
Okay.
movies. Not a
How
lot of
about
the
the
action.
what about the villains in Harry Potter? You don't like Snape?
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I did watch all the Harry Potter ones.
Voldemort?
Oh yeah, my
Malfoy?
Voldemort. Ah, Malfoy. Yeah, he's not good. No, his
Right?
dad. Yeah,
Is the
yeah, they weren't good.
Lucius? You have a quote
Yeah.
for us?
Do the best you can with what you've got and the time you're given. So one of my college professors would say that all the time, and I feel like I've carried that through for so many things. Like even when it was CrossFit, it was like do the best you can with what you've got and the time you're given. If you're not PRing, if you're not maxing out, like it's because you're doing the best you can with what you've got. If that's 3, 4 hours of sleep or not a lot of you didn't hydrate, um, yeah. So I would use that a lot.
Gotcha. These other ones, just real quick, just for benchmarks. We saw the boys in the boat. And I read Last Amateurs. And I know what a comfortable stroke rate is per 500 or for 1,000 or 2,000 meters. But sometimes you're like, you start off at 34, 37 strokes per minute, and they go to 40, 44. So, do you remember in your benchmark 500 meter, 1K, 2K times, anything like that, or 5K times, just roughly? 'Cause I remember
Um,
what my
like
best squats were all time, things that kind of burned in your brain, like, yeah, this is my best ever. I was just curious.
yeah. So my best 2K was a 634.9. And I had to say the
Point nine.
634.9 because the head coach, the US coach, he kept making a comment about to the team as a whole. He was like, "Yeah, until you can break 635." And on my next 2K, I was like, well, "Okay, I'm gonna break 635." So I get the 634.9. I was like, "Well, I broke the 635. That's what he wanted." But that was my best 2K, and I can't even remember what the split is on that. I don't know. Oh,
I think
and
it's about
then
130, 137 maybe.
yeah, yep. We had another, oh my gosh, it's been forever. I don't even can't remember the distance. 6K. My fastest 6K, think um I think it was like 21:07. But I forget the split on that. It's somewhere between like I think 145 and 150. I don't know. I just remember me and another one teammate, we kept going back and forth. I think it was 21:07. She had 21:05 for 6,000 meters. But again, I forgot the split on that. For 500, we never really did like a flat out 500 test or a minute. Yeah, so I don't really remember those. We would do a watt test, but even then, I can't remember what my watts were.
You might like doing Maddie's, death by test. 1 minute on, one
Yeah,
minute off. You got to shave 2 seconds every round and keep going.
yeah,
Ends
yeah,
up being a good workout.
yep.
Where where
That
can
does sound
people
good.
where can we find you?
Let's see. I have Facebook. It's under Jen Floyd, also Jen Cato, because that's my maiden name. And then Instagram is J underscore flow underscore 317. Yeah. And then the if you want to follow the gym is Plainfield Commons Fit Body Boot Camp. So we're on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, Jen, love having you on. And for those that want to reach out to us, it's info@athlete-builder.com. Thanks for everyone that came out to the webinar on October 7th. Our next one will be in December, and it sets you up for all of 2026. Comes out with a plan and a process for all of that, so be on the lookout for that. Also, make sure you're looking for our 2-minute drill. It's our 2-minute newsletter. We'll go over 2 ideas that we have, 2 ideas from guests or other folks, and then 2 habits or questions for you to consider. So check that out. Jen, man, great having you on. Love seeing you again. We'll have more to catch up on. And thanks again for helping out Maddie. And over the years, it's always been great when our paths cross. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
All right, we'll see you.